Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 7th edition of Red Shoes Talks. Today, I have a very special guest from a beautiful country called Israel. And actually today, I have Vered Raviv Schwarz, who is president and COO of Guesty. Our today's session, and I want to thank Guesty for contributing your valuable input. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And today's sessions, we'll talk about a snapshot of the recovery from a software point of view. Vered, welcome to Red Shoes Talks.
Thank you, Simon. So lovely to be here with you.
It's great to have you, and let's get right into it. So we don't need to mention the unprecedented times we're currently finding ourselves in, but obviously you as a very well-known software provider in our industry, you have amazing amount of visibility. And it's interesting to see how much information and data has come up in the last few weeks, also with the upcoming IPO of Airbnb, and everybody is happy to share some insights and data. And we want to do the same with you, obviously as Guesty being a wide provider in different markets and also type of products on the vacation rental side. And you can share some information to the audience. We also need to mention that we will support this conversation with slides that you have provided separately. So why don't we start, with give us a little bit of an overview. I mean, how do you see the market currently, Vered, in general?
I think that all of us can say that we were very concerned in March when we started to see the impact of COVID. And after 6 months, I think we can see a certain line of normalization. We've seen quite a V-shaped recovery in our industry. So mid-March to May, I'd say, was a dip. Then we saw recovery in Q3, definitely. And I think it was steered by two main issues. One is that domestic travel really picked up and is currently even normalizing across the board. We've seen that compensate for the lack of international travel. People want to travel. People are looking for drive-to destinations within 2-3 hours from home. They actually have the flexibility of not having to go to the office or to school on Monday, and they take longer vacations. So all in all, we saw more domestic travel, longer average length of stay, and prices quite normal for the season. The other trend we saw that really helped us with recovery was that short-term rental is preferable to hotels at this time, because as you can imagine, no one wants to share an elevator or restaurant or any surfaces or engagements that are not required at this time. And short-term rentals actually provide you with that safety and security and cleaning procedures that would make you feel more comfortable staying. We believe that eventually that would lead to having short-term rentals become even stronger post-COVID compared to the hotel industry. So those are two major trends. And one more trend that I want to mention that is important is last-minute bookings. Because of the uncertainty around, as an industry, we have to get used to the fact that most travelers are deciding last minute. We have to be prepared for it, not knowing exactly what is going to happen with our bookings in 2 months and being prepared for bookings in the last couple of days. And we have numbers to support it with 15% of bookings being made same day, which is remarkable, and over 40% being made the last 30 days prior to booking day.
Oh, amazing. So we have changing consumer behavior in terms of booking. That's clear. Domestic travel that underlines everything that we're hearing, obviously, as well. And, it's actually incredible, the industry that we're in, and whoever has ever thought about that. But now we're challenged to actually become more professional, lift our game. But when we compare that like for like on last year, how much, in terms of how much would we have lost overall? Obviously, I'm sure you have customers who had record year this year for the reasons you have mentioned, but we also see a vertical that is suffering a great deal for many obvious reasons, such as the urban operators. But if you look at it on a booking volume or in general, we said the ADR stayed pretty solid. So it was not about dumping prices just to attract more demand. I think prices have been reasonably solid as well. But how does it compare like for like? Have we lost 20% of our business? Have we lost 30%, or have we lost more?
So as you know, Guesty is active in over 80 countries. So we have that visibility across the board, which is very interesting. We've seen a lot of difference between different geographies as well as different travel personas, right? So as you can imagine, urban was hit more than rural areas because rural travel has become even more popular. So we've seen customers in rural areas, if it's the mountains, the beaches, the lakes. I've seen actually an upsurge in reservations. And we've seen the urban property managers suffer more. If you're in the center of a city, there's no international travel, there's no corporate travel, then you would be hurting more. A lot of those customers actually try to pivot to more midterm stays or extended stays, find the type of personas that are looking to stay at the city, if it's frontline workers, hospital workers, or corporate travelers that are looking for a different work from home environment. So we have seen that, but it didn't fully compensate for the loss of international travel and corporate travel. So that is overall in terms of personas. In terms of geographies, again, not surprising, the US is doing very well. It was, I'd say, over 80% domestic travel even before Corona. Now it's over 95% domestic. So again, very strong. We actually have more reservations this year in the US compared to last year. So we do see an uplift despite Corona. Europe is slower to recover, as you can imagine. We have a lot of lockdowns, second lockdowns. So again, not recovering yet as one would hope and expect. We are hoping that in 21 we'll see full recovery there as well. And APAC was late to recover, is now with summertime coming to the Southern Hemisphere, starting to recover nicely. And we do hope to have a nice summer season in APAC.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, that makes it so interesting that you can see so many different facets of the industry and also different markets and different products. But just in terms of summary, so we talked about geographies, we talked about products and markets and everything else. Who in a summary, which category or even which destination would you say has been hit the hardest?
So urban rentals in Europe, I would say, was hit the hardest.
No.
I also want to mention the fact that I mentioned last minute booking. So it's interesting to see that when we examine holiday season, for example, a month ago, we saw it was, bookings are much lower than a year ago. But as we come closer to the holidays, it gets better. So Thanksgiving in the US, just a month ago, we said, it was 15% below last year. Now it's already 12% above last year, because people are really waiting for the last week, looking around saying, okay, there's no lockdown, everybody's healthy, let's go. So you need to be prepared as a property manager to get those last minute reservations and prepare for check-ins last minute.
Great, very valuable. I mean, if we thought we knew travel behavior, then we need to rethink if we really do know travel behavior, right? I mean, I remember my times when I joined Interhome in 2005. A little anecdote: we knew by March if we're going to make the budget by the end of the year, right? And when I left as a CEO in 2014, we were still scrambling for the last bookings in October, November. So, this is how much it has changed. And now with that, even more so. So that requires a lot of flexibility. The next one I wanted to cover, and you've mentioned that already. Can we say that now midterm is the new short term in the urban space, or in terms of length of stay? So LOS, length of stay has been impacted. You couldn't do any 30-day plus on Booking or Airbnb or any other channels, and now everybody's running into midterm. Is that the new short term, do you think?
Not necessarily, but first of all, Airbnb was very quick to respond with extended stays. And by the way, Guesty was very quick in supporting that on our platform. We realized that our customers would want to pivot and try to make the most out of, midterm with COVID hitting. So definitely we see longer stays on average. We see customer personas looking for monthly stays. Such as I've mentioned, the digital nomads, that has become even more popular, because why not work from another city every month if I can? So those, I'd say that way of living has become more popular and would probably remain after coronavirus. But I believe a lot of them will go back to short-term rentals following COVID once travel normalizes. So yes, it helps mitigate the risk of COVID-19. Generally speaking, we see all our customers trying to diversify their portfolio, and I really recommend it. Don't stick to one persona or one region or one travel style. Try to cater to a larger audience. Allow your properties to cater for short-term and mid-term stays. Play with your inventory, play with your distribution channels, to cater to those different needs, because that's the way to go. Flexibility is key in this industry, especially at this time.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many things you and I could talk about for hours, because it's just amazing how this landscape has fundamentally changed, right? And we all need to adapt to it. And I had a prep call for a conference last week, which is going to be in December, a virtual conference, unfortunately. And it's an urban conference, Flex, and we talked about this changing environment. And one of the guys who are on my panel said, the entire world became digital nomads. And for me, this was mind blowing. I never thought it that way, right? To think, hey, actually, I'm included, right? I mean, we became a world of digital nomads. And that this is going to fundamentally change in how we behave in the future and travel, I think we all agree on. Does not necessarily mean it will entirely turn upside down. But even bank executives who have like 3 personal assistants around them realize they can work from home, and this is, I find that super interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how that's evolving, because a lot of our customers see longer length of stay. I did the same in autumn. I was like, my wife and I are like, let's get away out of the house. Not that we can really afford a vacation from a time point of view, but the kids can, so we went to a chalet for 2 weeks and we worked from there. So it was beautiful. So we see that even in our own cases. But going back to the point that you mentioned, all these changes that you have just mentioned, that must be a huge pressure for a company like you, Guesty. You mentioned how quickly you were able to respond to the longer stays. What else is in the tech roadmap, and how much did you actually have to adjust your tech roadmap to change to these immediate changes in travel behavior?
So generally speaking, I've mentioned extended stays as being one of the major issues we were looking for. Just to add on my last point, we did a big survey of 400 different property managers worldwide, and 40% said that they're looking to add extended stays to their portfolio. So of course we couldn't ignore that, and that's something that we're very early to support. Another thing that we need to focus on is that one of the reasons short-term rentals have become so successful is because of their ability to be contactless, right? People are looking for contact-free experiences. So anything around the automation of the experience, automatic check-in, check-out, digital keys instead of physical key dropping, all that has become extremely popular. And we've done that both internally with expanding our communication suite, but also, of course, leveraging our marketplace partners to provide several solutions to our customers to support contact-free stays. So those I would say would be the major ones. Another trend that we're seeing is more direct bookings, right? People are looking to market to domestic audience, and not always are the OTAs the appropriate channel for that. So they're looking at, social engagement and, other local communities. And for that, they need direct booking tools. So our direct booking engine and tools to support coupons and promotions is also something that has become very popular during this time.
So you can say you've been super well positioned to accommodate these changes, which they might have not been in the past as much, that you already saw, with your product features, that you can cover these requirements in the market. So that's super cool. My question, maybe just quickly go to that conversation for a second. Everybody's now talking about these direct booking movements, we had this conference in Barcelona and a lot of noise around direct bookings. And I, looking back into my career and knowing what it means and to actually be meaningful on direct channels versus others, I know how challenging it is. And obviously since then, OTAs have taken far more market share. What's your view on that, Vered? Do you think this is just a situation for the moment where people do that and everything will go back to OTAs once the demand pops back in? Or do you think that's something that's going to change over a period of time even stronger?
I don't see anyone replacing the OTAs. Okay, it's a super important and cost-effective channel for property managers. I'm sure it will remain. I'm sure international travel will come back, and for that you really must have the OTAs. I think that direct bookings, and we have seen a surge of 150% growth in direct bookings during Corona, right? Which is dramatic, but still it is connected to the situation, right? It's because you need to find customer personas that you were not looking for earlier. You need to focus on your local vicinity, which is something you didn't need to do before. So I think overall, maybe after Corona, people will know to use this tool more effectively for repeat guests, for certain local promotions around events in their area. Let's say that there's a big conference or a concert and you're thinking of how to leverage direct bookings for that. But I don't see it replacing the OTAs. I just think it might take a chunk that's a little bigger than before. That's the way I imagine it will happen.
So it will not impact the Airbnb IPO without a doubt, right?
I'm pretty sure they'll still make a lot of money.
Excellent. So does that mean you're expanding on your CRM features as well, which obviously is traditionally not a huge part of a PMS, looking at CRM features, and that is definitely a demand that is there. All the market analysis that we did, especially in the US a couple of years back, we were shocked how little CRM adoption was actually there, and how little property managers are actually using CRM technologies to drive back direct business from existing customers. Is that something that Guesty is focusing on?
Not the only thing, but we are focusing on that among other things that we feel are important for our customers at this time. We've done a lot with our data and analytics to provide more real-time analytics to enable real business decisions for our customers at this time. We actually provided all our premium features for free during this time to really help our customers weather the storm, and the analytics, advanced analytics is one of those tools that we provided. We're doing a lot to help them manage occupancy and rates in different ways, which is also extremely important. A lot around the multi-unit listing management to make sure that when you have full suites or floors, you can manage occupancy and pricing more effectively now that every reservation counts. And definitely everything around contacting your existing customers. I mentioned coupons and promotions is also something that we offer.
Excellent. One thing that I have a question burning under my fingers for our own observations within the market and what we're looking at AJL Consulting is, you talked about this before, you need to have the right product for different personas as well. And then we're saying, okay, we saw a massive drop in urban versus leisure. So the natural reaction is, and we're seeing that already, and I would love to hear your view on that, is to say, okay, when we're talking to the leisure property managers talking about urban, they say, nah, this is not something we touch and ever will touch now more than ever. Even before COVID, that's a clear demarcation. So we saw businesses emerging in the urban and businesses emerging in leisure. But now, where the urban guys have been hit very hard, it's obvious that they want to now venture out into leisure. So my first question is, do you see the same phenomena, so that they want to have more supply in leisure, number one? And number two, do you think they can do that successfully?
First of all, what we see is that everybody wants to diversify. I mentioned that earlier. It could be leisure, it could be midterm, it could be looking for different customer types because they were focused on corporate and now they are looking for different types of consumers. So leisure is one option, but it's not the only option. We do see customers trying to branch out, the larger customers branch out to more than one location because they understand that, being focused on one location is dangerous. It's also branching out to, as I mentioned, midterm and lifestyle more than just short term, right? The digital nomads, the millennials looking for a different place to stay, corporations offering a different work from home environment. So those are a lot of the things we see. But of course, also leisure. We see large enterprise customers looking for, complete buildings on the beach or in the mountains or areas that are more close to nature. We also saw some of our customers have very successful promotions of their properties, focusing on nature and different things than before. One example is the Alexander. I'm sure you're familiar with them. They had a fantastic campaign called Destination Isolation, extremely successful, where they focused on people looking for 2 weeks to 3 month stays in exotic places or close to nature or change of scenery, and again saw a lot of success in that. And another customer was Book Stay Hop in Oregon, also focused on being close to nature, on the mountains, on a different type of experience. So it's both looking for leisure locations. They're also turning your locations into leisure locations. You understand what I mean? Even if you're urban and you're in Miami, you can distribute it as a vacation location and not an urban location. Maybe New York or Paris or London currently are more problematic in that respect, but still a lot of our customers, even in urban destinations that are closer to rural areas, try to show that side of vacation or isolation in their locations and not just focus on the urban part of it.
That's super interesting, but that also requires demand generating, right? And if these highly targeted destinations, then it's challenging just to use obviously a large OTA to get visibility, besides obviously direct bookings. And I remember very well at last year's VRWS in Como, Sasha and Vanessa did a presentation that the boutique distribution websites are the next big thing, these small niche OTAs, if you wish. Do you see the same phenomena, that like very specialized channels are now getting a lot more demand, like travel with dogs or golf courses only or whatever it might be?
Definitely. I mean, it's all about diversifying your distribution, because there's lack of demand in the standard channels that you're used to, and you have to think out of the box. So think what's unique about your property. Is it dog friendly? Is it family friendly? Is it related to a certain sports or other hobby that you can relate to, and try to highlight that. with your own promotion or with going to the right channels. Also, some have pivoted to midterm channels, right? They're using Airbnb and other major OTAs for extended stays, but also are looking for the channels for specifically for extended stays. But definitely, this is a good time to diversify the way you market your properties.
Interesting. So before we wrap this up, there's a key element that you have touched on. I would like to go back to is this topic of tech adoption, right? We talked a lot about it in the past months. We need to become more tech adopted. You talked about the seamless experience, keyless entry, and everything else. But one challenge that we have is that we're still managing individual homes, right? So we're not managing institutional assets where you have 30 locks are the same on the door, and is this just talk, or is it actually happening? We see challenges. We know companies like Operto, Room Monitor, and others who help do home automation, connect with IoT devices to make this actually happen. In an urban market, I could totally agree with you. We have seen a lot of movements of urban operators to get doors converted so you can do keyless check-in and things like that. But how is that tech adoption really on the leisure side? Because one thing we know, we still want to address 60% of travelers who have not rented yet, or 50, and their expectation is like a hotel-like experience in relation to amenities, but also in relation to the process. Do you see this really accelerating, or is it happening slowly when we talk about tech adoption in our space?
Definitely. I think there's no way to avoid tech adoption in this era, especially with everything that's going on with COVID. You need to, I've already mentioned, adopting touchless experiences for your customers, and that includes home automation, and includes property scanning, cleaning processes, companies like Properly and Doin and Breezeway that allow you to automate a lot of your monitoring on your staff, etc. So that would definitely continue to accelerate. You also need to be more efficient, right? We all want to be cost efficient. We want to manage more properties with less work, and automation and technology allows us to do that. I think one of the big advantages of short-term rentals compared to the hotel industry, irrespective of COVID, is that we always had at least 5 to 10 less workers per room compared to the hotel industry. We're much more efficient, and we can only do that with technology. That's the way to be more efficient. You do things automatically, you trigger events, you trigger messages, you manage to respond to 10 customers at the same time. You allow them to do things with codes and digitization of the experience rather than being there physically. And that's the only way to go, whether it's business or leisure. And I see that only accelerating now, because if in the past people were concerned about the lack of human interaction, now they're actually not concerned about it. But I do think the beauty of short-term rentals is combining the two, is allowing you to have a seamless and touchless experience while having that human element of care, right? You want your messaging to show that you care. You want to provide your customers with digital experiences in their short-term rental rather than physical experiences. You want them to feel that they're important to you. You want to call them by their name and know why they're at your property. What do they need? If they have a family, if they have a dog, if they have special requirements that would make their stay more enjoyable. But you have to do all that with technology and do it all remotely rather than be there on site. And I think that mashup of hospitality and technology is what makes short-term rentals special.
Excellent. I love that. Just to finish this off, Vered, would that imply from a PMS provider standpoint that you want to own the entire value chain?
I think we're already heading in that direction. Guesty prides itself in being an end-to-end solution. Again, not all by ourselves. We have amazing partners, over 100 different partners on our marketplace that help us address all customer concerns in all the different countries that we serve. But definitely the idea is that in order to be efficient, you want to manage everything from a single dashboard and own the entire customer journey, uh, again, at the tip of your fingertips.
So with all the visibility, the know-how, and the bright minds you have around you, Vered, if you could give an advice to property managers out there who are looking for a piece of wisdom from you, what does it take in order to be successful in this recovery for a property manager? If it's one thing that you could suggest.
If I have to sum it up in one word, it's flexibility. You have to keep an open mind. You can't just keep doing what you used to do and expect to get the same result pre-corona days. It's just not going to happen. You have to market differently. You have to operate differently. You have to be more effective, more efficient, and you have to find new ways to succeed because of the changing environment.
Wow.
Do that.
Amazing. I love it. And if one day ever you're looking for somewhere to work, we would love to have you on board. That's something we are getting the people out there. So Vered, first of all, I want to thank you for your time on Red Shoes Talks. It was fantastic. I love your insights and your perspective of the industry, especially, and allow me to say that for somebody who has not been in it for the last 20 years, you're reasonably new to this industry, but we can feel the passion at the outside view and actually combining that together. And for me, one of the key takeaways that you have given, which I love as a closing note, to say, combining technology with the human touch where it makes sense is a wonderful statement. And I could not agree with you, because that's what we're passionate about. And if we're doing well in combining where technology makes sense and we allow the human touch to continue what we're known for as the industry, I think we can be successful. And last, but for sure not least, I think if you are not flexible in these unprecedented times, you will never be successful either. So I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great pleasure to have you on Red Shoes Talks today. And I wish you all the best, good luck, and foremost, stay well.
Thank you, Simon. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you and hear your insights as well.
Thank you.